Hi, Eric Lanask here. We are at the Rio in Las Vegas, Nevada at ITEXPO. And on our program this morning with me is Lewis Clark Jr. Lewis is the CIO of Clark County, Nevada. Lewis, thanks for joining me today.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, as we get into this conversation about changes in IT, what that necessitates, and what that means specifically at the CIO level, give me a quick overview of sort of the status of IT and what you do for Clark County.
Okay. And for those looking at the video who may not know where Clark County is, located in Nevada, it's the county that encompasses Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Strip is in the county. 2.1 million residences, about 40 million visitors a year. So technology is obviously important to manage the needs of those 40 million visitors when it comes to public safety, transportation, and those sorts of things. So my responsibility is for Clark County in terms of IT strategy and IT operations, daily operations. My organization's about 150 employees. We support a variety of systems. We have an IP telephone system, about 6,000 units on that system, about 6,000 desktop laptop computers, and the agency is about 6,500 to 7,000 employees.
Maybe one big topic generally across IT and communications, mobility. Let's maybe start with that. How has mobility impacted you, and what have you done in terms of providing some mobility capabilities for your employees?
Mobility is a big topic recently, and I've only been with the county, Clark County, for about a year and a half. And one of my initial initiatives was to deploy a mobile device management solution to create a framework by which we can support mobile applications going forward. Obviously, with the needs that we have around, business license inspectors, building inspectors, the fire department and their prevention inspectors, and a number of other assessors' office going out doing tax assessments. There is a definite need for mobility in Clark County. So probably 3 or 4 months into my tenure here, I started a project to identify and select a mobile device management solution. We have selected and we have implemented a solution, and we've gone live with it. We went live probably about 4 months ago, and so far it's doing well. We have about 1,000 units on that system now, and over the next year or two, I expect that number to double.
So for the 1,000 or so users that you've already got on it, any feedback, or what's the response been from them with some of the new capabilities?
Generally pretty good. The primary reason we wanted to use the MDM was to create a secure environment. The smartphones literally have extended our network beyond the 4 walls of our county building. So I needed to have an environment where we could securely send and receive emails. Sometimes, particularly when you're dealing with Department of Family Services, Social Services, Juvenile Justice, when you're sending information about children back and forth, it needs to be secure, it needs to be encrypted. So we wanted a device that allowed us to ensure that we wanted a solution that allowed us to ensure the devices had passwords, the data would be encrypted, and that if the device were lost or stolen, we could wipe the county data, among other things. The solution also gives us the ability to allow staff with their smartphones to get back into our network, do things like VPN, as well as access our intranet and other web-based services.
Now, do you provide the mobile devices, or are you working with some kind of a BYOD policy?
A little of both. Departments have the option of providing their own county-owned devices, and for the county-owned devices, we do give greater access because we own those and I can manage those. For BYOD devices, we do have a policy and that we've created and a document that we require the employee to sign, acknowledging what we will and will not do, what we can and cannot do in terms of accessing their systems. So we do support both BYOD and county-owned devices.
Do you have any sense of, on the employee side, is there a preference toward one towards the other?
The preference is probably more towards county-owned. There's certainly a perception based on what the NSA has done to cell phones and and the snooping they've done,
Sure.
that my IT can do anything and everything, and that's not necessarily true. We don't have the resources or the desire to snoop on 5,000 employees' phones. So there is a perception out there that maybe we can do a lot more than what we can do. So we continue to educate the employee population on what the solution is for, what we can do, and what we cannot do.
You mentioned public safety earlier on in one of your comments. Obviously, the strip area in Las Vegas, heavily trafficked, heavily populated, especially during certain periods. What kind of things go into ensuring that first responders and other public safety officials have the technology and the network capabilities and access that they need in order to effectively do their jobs and keep all visitors to Clark County safe?
Yeah, that's one of those initiatives where public safety has to be a priority. And we're leveraging some of the MDM technology, but of course they have some additional radio technology as backup because we are using the commercial cellular services. So we have our radio systems as backups to those. But as we look at some of the newer permitting systems, we want to incorporate data into that the fire suppression and fire prevention staff can use when they're dealing with public safety issues. As an example, if part of a business license, someone is storing certain types of chemicals, maybe it's a photo lab, a photography lab, where they're going to have certain types of chemicals. The fire suppression folks would need to know that if there's a fire or an emergency and they need to get into that facility, they would want to know what sort of chemicals are there. So we really want to kind of connect all the different departments. Maybe it's the planning department who zoned it a certain way to support those chemicals, and the business licensing department who approved that license to do certain activities. The fire department needs to know that. So having systems that communicate to each other is very important to us.
So, as you said, you haven't been with Clark County for all that long, but it's not your first run as a CIO either. How has the role of the CIO changed with some of these fantastic and exciting changes in technology? Mobility obviously being one of them, the cloud, those sorts of things. How's your role changed?
Yeah, it's been an interesting maturation, I think, of the CIO role, in that my role is not focused as much on the technology. I leave that to my deputy CIOs and my managers. My role is focused more on the business and whatever the business is. And a county is a complex, I'd say a complex agency because we do so many services. We provide social services, we provide some public safety services, we provide court services. So my job is to understand the business of what the county does and then understand how IT can have a positive impact on that, helping streamline processes, helping reduce costs. Staffing costs are huge everywhere. Capital costs and staffing costs are two of the largest costs for any business. And from a mobility standpoint, that may help us defer some costs because we may not have to house as many people, particularly if we get into mobile offices and maybe telecommuting and those sorts of activities. And from a HR person perspective, the more that we can streamline our systems and our processes, the more that we can push to the web so that there's more self-service that may allow us to defer, acquiring new positions over time.
I guess a conversation about IT really wouldn't be complete today without at least a mention of security in some capacity. I imagine that as a government entity, there are some very, very strict security policies and mandates with obviously your employees having access to potentially sensitive information, but also information that you require of them as county employees.
Yes, yeah, and as you mentioned, a lot of information around criminal justice that we manage, a lot of information around HIPAA that we manage, PCI information because of the services that we charge fees for and our taxes. So we do have a concerted effort to continue to mature our IT security model. And prior to my arrival, I think we've done a good job, and I think we've enhance that. We're looking at DLP, data loss prevention technologies. We're looking at, instead of quarterly scans, continuous scans for breaches and into our network, those sorts of things. So we are taking a very serious position and posture on IT security. As we look at cloud services, one of the aspects of that continues to be IT security. For example, we're considering, as we look at cloud, what might go into the cloud, and if it should be encrypted, maybe that's our standard, to encrypt data in the cloud to help with security. Because we may not know all the employees of that cloud provider, who has their background checks and who's not, like I do for on-prem solutions. So we continue to explore security in all aspects, including on-prem, cloud, MDM. Security is a core component of what a service that IT provides our employees.
One last question for you. We had a speaker yesterday talking about the value of IT and the IT department to an organization. Do you feel that that IT departments have the ability and have the resources and opportunities to create more value towards the entire organization, and how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, in fact, that's been one of my focuses, trying to define the business value of IT so that we're not just thought of as a cost center, but we're thought of as innovation. And when someone comes to IT, it's because, from the government perspective, it may not be revenue based, but it may be improved services to citizens. If we can, as an example, if we can cut the amount of time that it takes to process a permit by 30% because of technology, that's value. Or if we can enhance even revenue operations around property taxes, business licenses, so that folks aren't, from a delinquent tax or delinquent license perspective, we can provide systems on the web where 24/7 folks can renew their licenses, pay their taxes. Again, that's helping drive revenue, and that's business value that I think we can measure.
Fantastic. Okay. Louis, thank you so much for being with us on the program, and thank you for hosting us here in Clark County.
Good. Welcome, and we hope to have you back next year.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Bye-bye.